All right, you guys, JBelzer, welcome so much to Living Coastal in Ventura. Today, we are going to talk about all the North County beach communities. So if you're looking for a small beach community, we're going to talk about Solimar, Faria, Hobsons. We're going to talk about Little Rincon or Mussel, Shoals, and the Rincon communities. And the differences, they all have pluses and minuses. Some are actually closer to Carpinteria, even though you're zoned Ventura County. You might do your shopping in Carpinteria, and others are closer to Ventura. So without any further ado, click that like and subscribe button, and we're gonna get right into it. All right, you guys, so as we get into it, let's just take a drive up the 101. We're gonna exit Highway 1 at State Beach's exit. As we go past Emma Woods State Beach, really fun surf spot, and we explore Summers Beach, which is just free day use parking for a couple of miles. We're going to get to Solimar Beach, and Solimar is a really cute community. It's broken up into a couple of different groups. First is the beachfront with the sand that's really close to the public. Really popular surf spots out there. What's really neat about Solimar as a beach from a surfer's perspective, it's one of the few places that has a beach break, a point break, and a reef break. Kind of gives it this island vibe in a way. So on the beachfront there, you've got a mixture of new construction, 2,000 to 4,000 square foot homes, and also some of the cutest, tiniest little beach bungalows that are merely 1,000 square feet. It's got a good variety. It's at least $2 million to touch the smallest little tiny fixer, and we have properties going up to upwards of $8 million if they're fully renovated and built up to modern code, more than 3 stories high. And you get to the second part of Solimar, they have like a little ravine or estuary that goes through. There's actually a gated community that all the residents in Solimar actually get to use. They have tennis courts, big open area, grass. So a great way to entertain if you're either vacationing or you have friends from out of town and you have a home there and you want to have some more space. It's really great to have that aspect, kind of like a community property that you get communal use on. And then in addition to these homes, you actually get more private beach. Once you pass that point break, there's almost a little bit more privacy on the north end, because the only other public access would be from Tanks, which is between Mondos and Solimar. And there's not a whole bunch of parking there. Most of the time people don't even pull over to park there. Only in high peak season, when Ventura is flooded with tourism, do you really see anybody even using that beach at all. And then they're even really less likely to walk down up to a half mile back. So you get a really private beach, even though it's not gated off. It's very private, very secluded on the north end of Solimar. And we've got different homes from mid-century modern, Spanish revivals, very eclectic, and a lot of really nice fully renovated or fully remodeled new builds happening in Solimar. As we go north, the next tract would actually be considered, part of the Faria tract, and it's actually spaced between Tanks and Mondos Beach. And what's really cool about this one is it's really user-friendly as far as driving up, and you can drive right up to it off the highway, almost like the homes that you see north of Santa Monica in the Malibu area, where you're right off Highway 1 and you just pull right into your house. What's cool about this beach is it's semi-private, not a lot of access, not a lot of use right out front, but you actually get views of the entire point and the Channel Islands out the back. Again, really close, quarters as far as to your neighbors, but the homes are, up to 3 stories high. Most of the homes are gonna have the windows going out towards the ocean, and lots of decks and stairways that get down to the beach. It is tidal, so at high tide, the water might be going right up to your seawall, but then of course you'd have your decks on top. So we're talking about Faria. There's about 120 homes in Faria. As we start going from south to north, we'll notice that some of the properties have been split up with multiple homes on them, and there's actually a longer, narrow use of land. So you actually have these long, narrow lots. As they go north, you tend to have these lots that are a little bit more squished, so they might be a little wider, but they're definitely not as much, but they're really close to the beach. Some of the prime beach is towards the north, and there also is a gated community there as well. There's a couple communal areas, little play areas for kids, and there's some guest parking. But then on the north end, there's actually rows that go back. So you can go back 2 or sometimes even 3 rows at the very, very north tip of Faria. Bordering the north part of Faria is the Faria campsite. And Hobsons, that we've talked about in some of our videos, the Italian delicatessen, has actually taken over the food vendor there. And they've got some delicious menu items. They'll even deliver to those vacation homes or your house if you live there. They can actually make food right there, right down the street. And it kind of saves time from coming in. So talking about these pluses or minuses, Faria is probably about the halfway point of all of our coastal communities going up towards Rincon. Once you get up to the next one would be Hobsons or Mussel Shoals, it might be easier just to go to Carpinteria if you had to go grocery shopping. So even though you're in Ventura County, it might be easier to go up towards Linden because you're about halfway there. So Faria is a really special place. It's got one of the best waves in town. However, it doesn't break that often. So it's one of those special things. When it does break, it's a really great place to surf. It typically likes the lower tides. It's also tougher to enter. So a lot of times the locals that live there or have friends that come and surf, they can get access to the surf because of the high tides. It could be good surf out there and they'll get right out and into it. I always like to touch on the surfing. It's one of the reasons I live here in Ventura, and one of the big attractions is not just the ocean, but what you can do in it. The next track at Hobsons Campground, known as the Seacliff area, that's actually a track of about 60 homes. You have gate code to get in to any of the homes. And it goes from Old Stanley's, which is where the off-ramp is, all the way south towards Hobsons. There is a little reef break out in front also. So while it might look messy, there's one specific spot that gets really good. Old Stanley's will break sometimes at low tide around the corner. The homes here, as of late, they had used to be these cute little bungalows, but as of lately, they've been getting torn down and then being put up. They're not like huge mansions, but for beach, they're really good sized homes, sometimes 4,500, 5,000 square foot homes, 3.5 to 4 stories high. And very luxurious, very big, very wide, taking great use of space, flow, full feng shui, and so many levels of luxury. And if you're looking for a home that's on the beach, that's in a private area, that's kind of away from it all, that's right in between Carpinteria and Ventura, this is a really lovely community to be a part of. So now, as we make our way up towards La Conchita and Rincon, we're gonna stop at Mussel Shoals. Mussel Shoals is a very beautiful beach community. It has several rows of homes. That's also where the Cliff House, the Seacliff Hotel is. It's got a beautiful pool that overlooks the pier of Arco Island. Old Arco Island is an oil refinery that was here, Ventura being the oil town. And what I hear is that Arco Island will soon be taken out as well. They're going to remove the rocks and the jetty and even the pier. This could have a huge effect on the surf and the terrain that goes down as it creates some sort of a buffer seawall and the current goes through the pilings. It does create a type of a sandbar or reef or a point. Will this help or hurt the surf? I don't know. I think it'll probably hurt it if they take it out, but time will tell. As far as living there, we've got properties that are beachfront or several rows back. We've got properties going anywhere from 3 million up towards 8 or 9 million. What's really cool about living in Mussel Shoals is it's a great community vibe. People walk around with a glass of wine in the early evening, and you can actually have the sandy beaches of La Conchita to the north. They've got beautiful views of the pier and going out to Arco Island and the Channel Islands beyond, so you have a great depth of field that you don't get in other areas. And then you actually get, because of, the reason they call it Mussel Shoals is because of all the rocks and the reef and the point break there, you actually get a very deep level of sea life. Real variety here. There's probably more variety of different beach and terrain at Mussel Shoals than any of the other beach communities that you'll be. So that's really great about that. Living in Mussel Shoals, if it's a place that you're living and staying, maybe working from home, kind of better. I know when I lived there, we didn't want to leave, so you kind of stock up on those groceries and stay. But one of the things is getting in out. So if you're actually going to access it from the south, you have to go up to Bates Beach exit, come southbound and then get into it. This makes for a much safer entrance and exit getting into those rows of homes. Otherwise, if you're coming from the north, you can just make a right and turn right in, but then on your way out, you have to go down to the Seacliff exit, turn around. So it makes the drive a little counterintuitive to kind of like double back on your space and time, but it is a really special and very isolated place, and people have, really made this beach their home. Moving further down, right before we get to Rincon, it's important to talk about the off the beach side, which is the La Conchita beach community. La Conchita has had 2 major catastrophic mudslides within 10 years of each other. I believe the early 2000s and right around 2010 or 12. There was a catastrophic mudslide which left many people deceased. Mudslides are real. They happen. When they happen fast, even though the slide might look like it's in slow motion, and it can be a quicksand. The story goes that the property owner that owned the avocado orchard above was over, watering it, or really trying to, saturate the trees with water. And then that winter, once we got the heavy rain, it was almost like when you have that percolation of water that doesn't penetrate, or it goes through the soft soil and it's just sitting on rock, almost like it was just a bed of water waiting. And then when it got over flooded, it eventually spilt and you had the slide. The alluvial fans geologically go from north to south, which is this way, which is basically from land towards the beach. That's our real north to south, not always east to west. Or actually, east to west is the way that the freeway goes. So that's the direction that we're going to see slides. So there a slide had happened, it happened again. So it's definitely buyer beware. Anyone who would buy whatever their safety zone is, 10 houses from the hill, all the way back. I do know that it's an amazing community there, that the people all get along, they're all friends. The community was devastated when this happened, but people have come together and pulled through. They do have their own private little tunnel that goes from the beach community under the freeway to the beach. This beach access is great. They created this really beautiful bike path, and it's probably the most beautiful bike path in all of Ventura County. And you can ride all the way from north of Santa Barbara or Carpinteria, and you can it's almost as if you're riding your bike right over the ocean. La Conchita is also one of the most beautiful beaches to go to. They get much less wind than anywhere else in Ventura. So as you get to midday, 10, 12 a.m., if it gets breezy down here and it's cold, a lot of times it can be like 10 or 15 degrees warmer there. It can also be like a much more still environment. Not as many waves going on, but low waves, low wind, and a really great summer place to be. Let's head on up to Bates Beach and Rincon. Rincon Point is one of the most iconic surf breaks in all of California. Surfers will flock to this area from anywhere from like November, December, January, February is when the queen they say has awoken. Every major surf spot has what they call an opening day, the first swell of the season, and if it carries on for a good year, it can be very consistent, shoulder to head high to double overhead for months on end. The biggest issue with surfing this area is the crowds. Like I said, it draws crowds from near and far. Now, as far as living there, you've got everything from the beachfront cottages to more extravagant, almost the mini mansions, and then you even have townhomes and condos or little fourplexes that are split up. All residents, they have north of the ravine and also south of the ravine are allowed gate access to get in. They have different walkways that you can have the key to get in, to get access again down to the beaches. On the Bates Beach side, there's a walkway and a path. There's also a public parking lot. So you'll have people kind of going. So the beaches aren't necessarily private, but when they're out of season, they can feel like very private, and you don't have as many people going down to the beaches when the surf's not on. If you guys have any more questions about the housing or different properties in any of these beach communities from Rincon to Ventura, my name is JBelzer, and go ahead and shoot me a DM. Thanks so much for watching Living Coastal in Ventura. If you haven't done so already, please click the like and subscribe button. We'll see you at the beach.